Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Melva never did want to rush through life. Melva was a connector of people. Some of you here today are here because Melva connected you. But mostly, Melva was everybody's mom. As son Joey put it, Mom didn't just have her own 4 kids. She had her 4 kids and all their friends. She hosted countless overnight sleepovers at their house with cousins, friends, and some even ended up moving in with her. That was Melva. She was whatever you needed her to be. A second mother, a sister, a friend, or that listening ear you needed at a low time in your life. For me, she was a sister and friend that I will forever cherish. People mattered to Melva. That's why she did volunteer work for the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and she donated her long, beautiful hair to Locks of Love for cancer victims long before she became stricken with the disease. She loved helping others. She would even get hurt if you didn't ask her to help you.
We all lose sometimes, even though we try to do what's right. Stumble through this life, but then we reach the end, and when we die, we will win. We will soar across the sky. He'll give us wings so we can fly right by his side. We're in this life just for a little while. We'll go home with no more pain and no more sorrow. We'll fly.
Well, I guess I'll get a big palace now instead of a house
Why is that?
in heaven.
Oh.
Do I get to take my things with me?
How then are we saved? If we believe that Jesus died for all our sins, it seals our faith. So don't you worry anymore. We'll be just fine. We'll be fine. You and I will meet up high, share our love, the love His grace provides. We will soar across the sky. He'll give us wings so we can fly right by His side. We will soar across the sky. We'll look down from high above, awaiting all the ones we love. And we will leave this life behind, and we'll be home, never alone, where there's no
things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Melva was a wonderful sister to me. She was a very special blessing, different. She walked to the beat of her own drum. And sometimes she made you step to the beat of the drum too. I remember one time I came visiting her and I was sharing with her because she drew it out of you. You know how sometimes you have feelings in here and she draws them all out, and I was telling her my problems, and I guess it just became kind of overwhelming, and all at once she felt the Lord wanting us to go a different direction. She said, I know somebody that's real sick and they need us right now. Would you like to go with me to pray for them? And I said, well, are you sure God's wanting us to do this? And she took me by the arm and said, yes, God wants us to do this. And sure enough, we got there and he was in serious trouble. We had to call the ambulance and everything. But while we were waiting on the ambulance, she had me lead us in prayer for him. And it did change the circumstances, not only in him, but in me.
And she appreciated the smallest act of kindness. Going through some of the boxes at her house with her, I think Melva had every card that anyone had ever given to her. She had all the drawings from her children and her grandchildren, and nieces and nephews, and treasured little memories of someone's kindness they shown to her. She even spent some of her time during these final months writing letters of gratitude to people in her life to be mailed later. If she'd had the strength and the addresses, she would have written to every single one of you, probably everybody in the world, whoever had befriended her in some small way. Melva knew how to show love. Sometimes it was tough love, or advice that we may not have wanted to hear at the time, but that's the most courageous kind of love. She's always urged those that she cared about to find the internal strength to be the best that they could be. Melva had a helpful heart, sometimes too helpful, that she risked her own safety. She once found a homeless person sleeping in her car that was parked in the back of her shop. Melva went out and talked to the lady and ended up taking her for a ride to wherever the stranger wanted to go. Melva would give people the shirt off her back, and if you complimented her shoes, she'd take them off and give them to you. And she wouldn't take no for an answer. If you told her to keep them for herself, you'd find them in your luggage when you got home. Another day not long ago, while taking some clothes to the Goodwill, while she was going through her chemo, she saw a homeless lady on the street that was about her size, and she asked Lisa to pull over and give her her clothes. Melva wanted to help in any way she could to anybody. She wanted to do whatever she could to make sure that they had a good day. She regularly took her children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews on adventures. A few of her adventures required a lot of faith. On one of her cross-country travels, she had arranged to meet a long-lost relative and only had $40 on her, and she was trying to make it there, and she was so tired. So she wanted to pull into a motel for the night, and so she prayed and asked God that if the motel was $40, then she would stay there. She had enough gas to get to the meeting the next day. So she pulled into the first motel and asked the clerk how much it was, and sure enough, it was $40. So she handed him the money, And she went on and had a good sleep that night. The next day, when she met with the person, they had a good talk, and then when she got ready to leave, the man said, "Wait, God told me to give this to you. I don't know why." And he handed her a fistful of money, and when Melva stopped crying, she counted it, and it was $40. Melva has countless stories like that, stories of people who came into her life at just the right moment to help her along with her journey.
Earth angels come in many forms to perform their wondrous deeds, and Melva was one of the very best at attending to people's needs. First on her list was the Lord she loved, whose faith was her guiding light throughout her life right up to the end, when it helped ease her final fight. She wrapped her wings so freely around both friends and kin, doing whatever she could to help, to finish a task or begin. Many years ago, in the 80s, she arranged a chance for me at her children's school in Oxnard to share my creativity. Her sister Martha, my liaison, had told her of how I used my poetry, music, and pantomime to get children all enthused. We each have a chance to participate as an earth angel now and then, but Melva made a career of it, working wonders again and again.
I had come with Martha to see Melva, and we had been talking about doing a girly trip for years, several years. And we were all living in different places and busy, and it just didn't seem to happen like we wanted it. And then when Melva got sick, we still talked about it, and then she said, well, get the chemo out of the way and get me feeling better, and we'll do it. Well, things didn't happen like we hoped. So we kept deciding, when can we go, when can we go? And so finally, Martha and I got together and we planned it. And that was about 2 weeks ago. Well, it was right before Thanksgiving. And we came out, and I know that Melva wasn't feeling well, but just about anything that we asked her to do, she did. And I know there were times she didn't want to do it, but she did it. As usual, she was caring about others again. My life has been so blessed to have a friend like her. And I probably wouldn't be the person I am today if Melva wasn't in my life. I love her.
And we had a great time going from taking Melva to her elementary school or junior high or high school, and we're the house where we grew up. Then we got a pedicure and a manicure, and I asked Melva, well, what do you want to do now? And she looked at me, and she was weak, and we were taking her, in a wheelchair and whatnot. And she looked at me and she said, TP Uni's house. And we said, okay, let's do it. So we knew Uni and Nico weren't home. So Carol got a roll of toilet paper and a roll of toilet paper. I won't say where it came from, but we were at a hotel. And we went out to Uni's and Nico's house and had the time of our life decorating tree to tree, basketball hoop, and tying little bows. One of the neighbors drove by, carload of people, and wrote down the window and said, don't you know you're too old to be doing this? What fun she was. Melva was wonderfully unpredictable. She met President Clinton when she was working for the Red Cross after a tornado outbreak had hit Arkansas one year. And only Melva could get away with this, with that naive grin of hers. But she even gave Bill Clinton some advice and told him to keep his nose clean. She would talk to strangers wherever she worked, traveled, or shopped. She could find out someone's life story within minutes. I saw it happen. She got into a taxi once, and within 2 minutes, she had got that guy bawling. She just had that knack. She always was trying to fix other people's problems. Even her stuffed animals as a child, she would make sure she slept with them all so that no one would feel left out. Melva always had a song in her heart, too. She loved to sing. In the labor room with each one of her children, she would sing them into life as she was going through labor. And I'm not talking about humming to get yourself calmed down. She would have the hymnal there and would go from song to song, singing songs and children's songs and even a few Broadway tunes.
One of my favorite adventures with her was back in 2008. She accompanied me to go see my son graduate from the Army boot camp in Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. Melva was like his second mom. And she got to see Nicholas graduate from his Army boot camp. And like I said, my favorite flying. And we're sitting on the tarmac, and the pilot comes on and lets on that there's some kind of mechanical problem with the plane. I couldn't get off the plane fast enough. I was probably pushing the plane back. But she held my hand through all that. We got back safely. I know she's up in heaven right now, and she's planning on our next, and it's going to be the biggest adventure. And you kids, family and home was so important to her. And as her friend, I thank you from my heart. You guys, she was so proud of you guys. You guys really rallied around her this year when she needed you guys most. And you were her angels. You're her angel babies.
I'm off on another trip. See London at night. This is the tube. All the way down there is the underground.
To never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I wish I could be. Well, I could fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know that I know the truth. Of course course I know it. Well, I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I wish I could be. Well, I could fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the wind beneath my wings. 'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings. My wings.
Melva sang at the bedside of our mother when she passed away. So one night, when the family was all gathered there at Joey's house and she was there on her bed, we all gathered around her and started singing. And we sang every song we could think of, the children's songs that they remembered, the 12 Days of Christmas. And in the middle of that, she was so weak, and we all looked at her, and she was mouthing the words along with us. She was an incredible lady. Melva loved inspirational quotes and collected them. She took pictures of church signs. One favorite of hers is the lessons you learn in life are not what you get, but how you receive it with gratitude. These sayings gave her strength to hold on. The underlined scriptures in her Bible did too. And the 3 framed prints in her house hanging on the wall were an especial encouragement to her. The first one was a serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things, as Lee read. The one next to it was the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the third one was the serenity prayer. I think she was trying to give us a message. Besides collecting plaques and sayings, Melva also collected people. Some people came to her house for the day, and some, as we said, ended up staying. Melva took in people and did her best to help better their lives. She has spoken into the lives of so many, and sometimes hard truths. Melva may have had a hard time standing up for herself, but she did stand up to cancer. She fought this with every ounce of courage she had, and even tried one unconditional method of treatment. Melva loved watching movies and TV shows. She and Joey would watch shows until late in the night. These shows and movies were her entertainment, her company when she was alone, and sometimes her source of protection. Whenever she was working late at the consignment store and she knew she was going to be there alone, she would have Joey put a MacGyver DVD in the TV and leave it freeze the frame frozen on the movie poster, and there's so that Melva could see MacGyver and know that she could be protected. As Melva neared the end of her life, we were standing by her bed, Joey pulled up that MacGyver poster on his iPhone and showed it to her. Her family surrounded her in the final hours with a love that was nothing short of incredible. All of you that were there to witness it, it was amazing. As Melva neared the end of her life, her voice got stronger. We all have many stories of how Melva in the past would mix up a few words here and there like Norm Crosby used to do, and we all would laugh with her over it, but at the end her voice kept getting stronger and stronger, and she didn't do that anymore. When one of her doctors was giving her a discouraging update on her condition and doing it with his face buried in a file, Melva stopped him and said, "Look me in the eye. I'm a person, not a number." One night I asked Melva how she felt about her prognosis, the fact that how things were going, and she just calmly said, "This too shall pass." She tried to change the things she could and accept the things that she couldn't. Amazing courage. So how do you say goodbye to someone like that? You don't. You tell her you'll see her later, and believe me, she's counting on it. Psalms 31:56 says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." When Melva was in her final hours and all of us were standing around her bed, she could barely talk, but she mouthed and whispered some words. It was, "Give him all the pieces." And then she turned and looked in this direction and she said, "Give him all the pieces." And then she turned and looked in that direction and said, "Give him all the pieces." We all know that it was one of her sayings. You got to give him all the pieces if he's is going to make you whole. Just like the Serenity Prayer plaque, she said it 3 times. Melva said that her greatest desire is that all of you would never lose sight of the fact that it is God who will carry you through all the way to the end of your life.
For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.